was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Can't be like a horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have
corrupt
sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
My name is Sivile Mangu. I come from Langa. I grew up in Langa.
I'm Gail Regan. I'm going by the AKA Stormson or Storms On.
Hi, I'm Robin Alexander. I'm 26 years old, a single mom, and I'm currently a bartender in Long Street.
Hi, I'm Danielle Jensen. I'm 33 years old, single mom.
Hi, I'm Jill, also known as Honeybush.
Growing up, one of the most challenging parts was fitting in. That was basically trying to fit in, to see where you. Everything where I grew up was about who you are. I was always the type of person that was with the guys. I was with the guy friends. I was, the tomboy out of everybody. And then you get these people that I don't have to put it, but you have to be popular. You have to be a certain way. You have to have a boyfriend at a certain age. You have to do this. You have to do that. Lose your virginity by 15, and I wasn't one of those people. So I think the challenge for me was more like fitting in, and I still don't fit in. I still don't fit in.
I don't know if there's a difference between the communities in terms of townships and the Cape Flats. For me, it's basically the same thing. I grew up in Langa, which is next to Bonteheuwel, which is next to Athlone, and I had friends in both areas, in all areas. So I experienced the same things they experienced, and maybe to a degree, there was a little bit, just a tad bit more violence, a little bit more, the feeling of unsafety, insecurity in a so-called black township. But now, personally, that affected me because of the fact that we didn't have a father in my household. We were just my mother and I, and she obviously had the assistance of her family in raising me. So with that, I would have had to find some kind of identity in other people's households, which was quite difficult because you have to identify yourself. And you can't necessarily, at that age, you don't realize or recognize that identifying yourself is about finding yourself. You think that you should find yourself in other people's reflections of you.
My biggest challenge was having to hustle since a young age. Growing up with 5 girls, both my parents died at a young age. My mother at the age of 34. My dad died at 49. And for me, it was when I left home at the age of 16, when I finished school. And then I didn't know where I was going to go, what I was going to do. But I left, and I just had faith with me. I walked with faith. I took with me nothing besides my school things because I was busy with final exams, and I left. And then I had a part-time job, weekend job, as a bar lady. And the head bar lady, she told me I could come and live with her. And I took it from there. And from there on, I had to struggle my way through life.
My challenge was always not being able to fit in anywhere. So I ended up just flying and doing pretty much as I pleased. I've never felt particularly vulnerable or unprotected because I think I've always walked with a sense of my own possibilities. That is not to say that I've not experienced as a young woman incredible levels of abuse, which is endemic. In other words, it is so much a part of our worlds, not just here locally on the Cape Flats, but everywhere in the world. It is planetary. So yes, I've lived with domestic violence, a beautiful father and a beautiful mother, but a weakness that got expressed via my father in beating my mom.
I had the better part of the mental and the verbal abuse in my life. The physical part was a duration of 1 year, I could say. I was 8 months pregnant when I was thrown with pocket knives. The okapi knife right across my stomach, and it literally slit my stomach. 8 months pregnant. And I didn't know how to deal with this. He happened to walk out because he couldn't believe what he actually just did. And I nearly died because I had a minor hemorrhage. But luckily the baby was full term, born normal birth and everything.
There was a situation just exactly like yours. I was about 8 months pregnant. My cousin, who was known to be a woman beater, he was in the army. He is in the army. He's still like that. Had been doing this to his girlfriends. One day he just decided, I'm fully pregnant, that he's just going to start slapping me around. I grabbed a knife. I grabbed the biggest butcher knife. I studied as a chef, so I grabbed the biggest butcher knife. And I think even before that, one of my uncles had actually tried to stab me. I've got some marks here. Man, the men in my family, I don't know if it was something they saw or something that they thought was right. They had some reason to actually come up to me. And I don't know if it was my mom or what it was, but I couldn't allow it. It all happened once with each person.
In the male position, you see.
With each person, each one of them tried it once and they never tried it again with me. So I think that I don't know what it is that should come from you to not allow it, but at that point, at that moment, there's nobody else to defend you. There's nobody else who's going to help you. And by all means necessary, I think that's what maybe comes from my mother. By all means necessary, make sure that he does not touch you. Or if he does, he has to pay the repercussions. He has to.
I was 16, 17 years old when I met this guy. Fell madly, hopefully in love with him. He was my first boyfriend, first kiss, first everything, those type of things. It took about a year, 2 years into the relationship when he actually decided that I was his property, basically. And I didn't understand that because I never had my mother. My father got divorced when I think I was like 7 or 6 years old. So I never really had in my life to tell me, this is that, whatever. I got used to being abused by him. That's the truth, because I got used to it. I don't know what it was, like an addiction. It became an addiction to me. I didn't know how to leave. I didn't know if I should leave. I thought that was love. I thought, I wanted all, I wanted all the time. but yeah, it's difficult saying it because people say some females want it. They want the abuse because you ask for it. But it's not true. Coming from me, it's more of you get confused between love and obsession, and an obsession in a relationship. And I think that was my confusion. And it took me 7 years to get out of that relationship.
From my perspective, both, I can only speak for us because that's what I know, both the colored and the black community for me, which is the same thing, our men have been raised in a society where they are mainly made to feel there's a lot of pressure on them. I'm not saying this is an excuse for them. There's a lot of pressure on them to, first of all, get us out of that situation. And with that pressure, I don't know if we had, the parents of the parents had the tools to actually teach them how to do that properly. The whole thing of being in the township and the flats there was a feeling of we need to get out of here. And we looked up to the male for some reason to do that for us. And I don't know if it was the pressure or if it was the not knowing how or it was the lack of the tools that made them somehow fail in doing that. And for that reason, I'm not a psychologist, but psychologically, that can lead to, personally, if you're under so much pressure for something that you cannot do, you break down. And you become the opposite of what you're meant or supposed to be. Therefore, I think the violence would stem from that fact. The second reason is because, look, most of us grew up without any kind of financial stability. Financial stability was the main reason. So they had to make sure there was money and things like that. Our brothers and fathers would go into things like crime. A lot of the crime came also from the apartheid era where there weren't many opportunities for them to be able to, earn that 20,000 rand that would sustain the whole family. So they did things, And there were shebeens, there were taverns, there were drugs, there was all kinds of things and ways for them to make money. And that was the only way we knew how because you were limited. You were limited. You would either go to school. Bantu education was bullshit that would cause nobody to actually be able to earn anything. So coming out of that, all you have is your street knowledge. And all you have really is this whole family that expects you to do this and that. You become a gangster. You become whatever the hell it is that you have to. And you go to the dark side. And the dark side seems to be feeding your need. But in that, there comes the violence, there comes all the other shit that you will actually bring into your family.
I also think that it is the lack of fatherhood within a home and the discipline that hasn't been carried through over.
Those
you understand?
are the tools I was referring to.
So yeah, there is no discipline in today's homes because of lack of fatherhood. Every child needs a father growing up, even if we as mothers, we say we are single mothers, we don't need the man to, to help us. That is bull, because we do. Every child needs both parents, you understand? Some needs mother more than the other, some needs the father more than the other, especially the boys. I think boys needs the father at all times for the discipline and to teach them how to go about life, his experience and today's experience, the challenges that we all need to face.
I was in an abusive relationship for 7 years with my child's father. And if I have to see him today and I have to ask him, okay, he never grew up with a father, so maybe that can be a link to what. But I think it also has to do with the hustle, trying to hustle, and then becoming addicted to drugs and falling into the wrong path. And there's no excuse really for what people do, but you can also pinpoint it to certain things in their lives where they grew up. But I wouldn't blame it on his mother, because I know for the fact that she was always there for him. She tried her best for him. She, I have a relationship with her up till today, and I never saw him in like 10 years. But I have a relationship with her, and I know that you can't blame it on the parents also at the end of the day, because it's yourself, it's who you are. You can pull yourself out of a situation if you really want to.
I went through 2 abusive relationships, like bad, ne? And the last one, which I exited from, but I chose that I was going to exit it with love, that I wasn't going to exit it in the same way that the perversion of love had been imposed upon me, because I entered the relationship with the expectation of love, which is a gentleness and a growingness and a sharingness. Okay, but within that it became perverted. I made a conscious choice to see it through, because I wanted to see, I truly needed to know what it is about. But because I also know my path, I always knew that I was going to exit it. All right. So when I left that relationship, I left it with love. But I asked him, why are you doing this? What makes you capable of kicking me in my face and then stroking me and wanting to make love and telling me how much you love me? And he said to me, want ek kan en ek wil. Which is when I knew that he's because I can and I will, I was complicit in the arrangement, because I returned to that embrace for my deeper and higher reasons, but on the surface level, I returned to it, okay, because I wanted to understand. All right, so he could and he would. So I said, well, fuck that. I will show you that you can no longer and you will no longer. And I will leave you with love. It took me 3 years to do that. We are friends. He is soft. I restored to him his capacity for love and a gentleness which he did had, but which all of the circumstances that you guys are raising, which are sociological, anthropological, political, economic, etc., had also devised him into that kind of person. The point I am making here is that what we have, we are all making. We are all responsible for the violence.
That's true. You need to love yourself first. Find the inner peace with yourself to love yourself and then love someone else.
The challenge is to find ways in which one as an individual starts saying, but this is not the world I wish. And because I do not wish it, I am going to reshape it. And that for me is the biggest challenge.
My dream is for dignity to be restored to the masses, living on the Cape Flats.
My actual dream is just to be in a place in my life where I can actually say I've made it and I'm comfortable and my children are happy.
My dream is to own nothing and to have everything.
My dream is to find absolute peace and, if possible, if ever possible, balance. That's all I need.
My dream is to travel the world one day and to settle somewhere where I can tell my kids, right, guys, we're home now.